Hi there, this is David McKay with McKay Photography Academy, McKay Photo Tours, and I am bringing you this quick presentation on a little bit about travel insurance. You know, if you're watching this, there's a good chance that you are on one of our tours, and you may be asking yourself, do you really need travel insurance? Is that something that, you really have to have? And I'm here to tell you right now that one of the reasons that I am doing this right now, this presentation, is in the last 8 days, we have had 6 people that cannot go on one of the trips. Most of those have happened last minute. And out of those 6, 4 people do not have insurance. And because of that, they are unfortunately are out of their funds. The monies they've paid towards this wonderful trip that never thought they wouldn't be able to go on. And it's super unfortunate, super sad, but I want to go through with you about getting travel insurance, why it's so important for so many reasons, and why you need to do this as the very next step after you book one of our trips, or any trip for that matter. So the question is, do you really need travel insurance? And the answer is yes. It is without a doubt something that you need. As I mentioned, right now, just right now, I'm dealing with a number of folks that cannot go on a trip. We deal with this. I would like to say we hardly have to deal with this, but unfortunately, the truth is life happens and we do deal with this a lot. You know, we have our policies in place, and I'm going to go through those with you a little bit. You can read these in the forms that you sign, but the biggest thing for people to understand is that here we are committed to you in doing this trip. We set up everything. And with that, we contract with other vendors. We contract with vendors and partner tour operators. And with those contracts, we give them very specifics of what we are going to be providing to them financially that is on your behalf as well. We can't just back out just because you can't go. So therefore, we have a financial obligation ourselves to fulfill what we have contracted with those folks. And so not only that, we have things like rental vehicles. We have our team, our instructional team. Those numbers are all based on how many people are going on the trips and what we're doing. And it's a huge financial responsibility for us. And therefore, we have to have our non-refundable trips in place. So as you know, we do the non-refundable retainer to secure your spot on the tour. And then as you make future payments, those payments are non-refundable. And it is due to the fact that we just can't back out of a tour and all of a sudden, we're okay either financially. And so it's important to understand that if for any reason you are unable to go on a trip, you are still committed to fulfilling your end of that obligation. However, with that said, we will do what we can. And if we feel like this is very fair. If somebody cannot attend and we can find somebody, or you can find somebody that will replace you on that trip, then of course that's not a problem. We do keep some of the fees for that because there's typically, anytime we change out somebody on a trip, there is typically 5 to 7 hours worth of work just to change somebody out on a trip. And that also goes for fees that we may incur with our partner operators. So we'll do what we can, but we can't guarantee that. We have wait lists, but sometimes we'll have like 2 trips going back to back, and we might already have an opening or somebody else that can't go on a trip. And basically your protection is to have travel insurance. All right. That is just super much. That is the key to protecting. And here are just some of the reasons that I want to go through. These are just some of the reasons why people have not been able to go on one of our photo tours. And again, I'm dealing with this right now. We deal with this a lot, and it is just unfortunate. But I would say that the biggest situation that we have is unexpected illness. Nobody expects that something is going to happen. And the reality is that of those that cannot go on one of the trips, I would say probably 85%, 90% happen within a couple weeks of the trip, and they never saw it coming, and something comes up. We've had situations, I can't give names, but we have one situation where We had a gal that she had an unexpected epileptic attack. She never had epilepsy. She fell downstairs. She broke a bunch of bones. Her whole family was scheduled to go on that trip. It was her and her husband and 3 kids. They were older kids, but they were still minors. So travel insurance, it happened literally 3 days before the trip, and travel insurance covered that entire situation. I mean, you're talking 5 people on a trip plus airfare and all the other expenses. I would imagine close to $70,000. Having a baby. We have a client that was going to be grandparents, and their daughter became pregnant. Now, that happened after they purchased the travel insurance policy, so therefore it was covered. If they had purchased the travel insurance after they found out their daughter was going to be pregnant, then it would not have been covered. We've had people get in a car accident. We've had people, unfortunately, get divorced. We've had people lose jobs and work issues where their boss suddenly says you can't leave. But the biggest one has been the unexpected illnesses of either themselves or a loved one. And we've unfortunately had people that have lost a loved one very unexpectedly. We've had that happen before a trip, and we've had that happen on a trip. And these are just some of the reasons where people couldn't go on a trip. And then we've had people that will send us an email. They can't go. They're asking for a refund, and it's just impossible. And we don't want to be the bad guys. That's not our intent. But we do have to also have policies in place to protect ourselves and our own business. Now, it is important to understand that with travel insurance, these are some of the things that have happened, but you have to know the inclusions and exclusions. We are not travel insurance people. We can only advise you to get travel insurance. Every state is different. And as we go here, I'm going to share who we recommend as well. I do want to share just a few things that have happened on our trips as well. We have had people get fall and injured. We have had people that have broken bones on a trip unexpectedly. They fall, they trip over something, they broke, a collarbone. We had somebody break an ankle, sprain an ankle. We've seen emergency family issues happen at home where somebody has to get home extremely fast. We've seen people that have missed flights and therefore missed part of their tour during COVID-19. And even still with COVID-19, we've had people get COVID-19 on their trip and then they miss a portion of the trip. Lost luggage, serious delays, all of these things have happened. Some of these have happened to us. They've happened to our team, and we will not travel without travel insurance ourselves. All right. So people ask us, what can we do about, your policies? And my policy is I'm telling you what to do, and that is get travel insurance. And you also want evacuation. So let's talk about the types of travel insurance that are. Now, again, I am not a travel insurance expert. I'm going to recommend who we recommend and why. But the first thing, the minimum that you ever want when you're traveling out of country is medical coverage. Most people don't understand this, but you need to check with your own primary medical insurance to see what's covered. But there are countries where they expect payment first. So we get into that with our tour packs and things like that. But the last thing you want to be doing in a situation where you need medical help is worrying whether you're covered or not. So very minimum would be medical coverage, and that should be followed by evacuation coverage. And that means that they will get you out of a situation in a country and you are covered. That is huge, 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 huge to have. So medical and evacuation coverage. What we always tell our clients is right after they book their tour, they should book cancellation coverage as well. And cancellation means for all of the other situations that we've said, all of a sudden 6 months goes by, something happens, there's something unexpected, and now you are covered. And again, these are inclusions and exclusions that you need to look at and talk to your travel insurance advisor about, but these are things that you want. Cancel for any reason is exactly what it says. And that means that you all of a sudden can't go for whatever reason and you are covered. Now, that is extremely expensive insurance because it's almost like people feel, I think the insurance companies feel like you're going into it with that expectation that there's a good chance you may not be going on your trip. Now, so the insurance is expensive and usually it does not give you 100% back. I think it's typically around 75% of your funds you get back. So if it's one of those situations where you are not under a regular covered situation, such as an illness, but you can't go for some reason, then you can have your cancel for any reason insurance that will kick in. Pre-existing conditions and cancel for any reason have to be purchased within a very quick time of when you set up your tour. Different policies, from my understanding, are different timing. I know that with many of them, you cannot purchase these after 2 weeks from setting up your tour. So pre-existing conditions, meaning you've got something that you need covered ahead of time and you want cancel for any reason, need to be set up immediately. These type of coverages can be set up down the road, but one of the things that we deal with a lot is people asking us to do something that is not legal, and that is they find out they can't go. Can they still get travel insurance? They're dealing with something, and then they ask us to write them up something, play with the numbers, play with the forms, play with the invoices on dates. And we will not do that. We cannot do that. We will not do that. And so we are telling you it is your responsibility to have insurance and to make sure that you're covered, so that if you cannot go on a trip or if you're hurt on a trip, you are taken care of. So who do we recommend and why? We recommend Travel Insurance Center. You can read their reviews. Now, Travel Insurance Center and Brandon Eubanks, he is a friend of ours now that we've worked with for many, many years. And basically he is a broker. I think they represent something like, I don't know, like 30 different insurance companies they can sell you a policy from. But the deal with that is he will only sell you what he thinks is going to be best. And, some people have emailed me in the past and said, oh, well, I got a quote for Brandon. It was expensive. And I go, well, what was the quote for? Because there's no markup on what he's doing from if you went to that particular insurance agent on your own or insurance company on your own. So there's no markup from his end. So if he's selling you something and it's expensive in your mind, you might want to make sure it's because he's making sure you are covered. The other thing about Brandon, and I can have many, many clients that attest to this, is that if it is a covered reason, something that should be covered, and you run into any issues with insurance, which you will, they're insurance companies, guys. I wish it was always easy. It's a pain, and you got to be patient. But if you run into any kind of situations, you can email Brandon, you can email me and Brandon, and we can basically talk and say, hey, listen, this client's dealing with this. I've given all this paperwork. Brandon, can you please contact the insurance company on this client's behalf and see what's going on and put a bug in their ear to help this client out? And he has done that over and over and over for us. Okay, folks, so this is your presentation on travel insurance, why you need it, why you should have it, and why you need to get it immediately following booking your trip with us, or for that matter, booking a trip with anybody, anywhere. Do not travel without travel insurance.